You sure?
I am sure. Okay, we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what I'm calling Nostalgia Junkie, which is a branch off of Bibliomancy for Beginners, which is a book club that I host. This is going to be every single week, and we're going to be reading one of the Pendragon books, which is my favorite childhood series, every week, and discussing it. And Casey is going to join us for this.
Hello.
Because she likes reading children's books and talking about them.
It's payback for forcing you guys through a series of unfortunate events. But I'm glad you're not making us do a book a day. These are hefty.
No, they're long, so I was not going to make that happen. The most I would have said was 2 a week, but even that seemed like pushing it a bit. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit. They're very long, which might have been why I liked them so much. Gretchen also said that she was going to do this with us, but like last Tuesday when Taylor and I were here, she's still doing her thing in Ithaca, so she'll be with us next week, hopefully, to talk about the second book. No worries, guys. She read this series as a child and knows most of the plot and or is fully capable of reading this first book very quickly if she needs the refresher. Okay, so I'm going to have Casey tell you a little bit about herself first, and then I will talk about the book, and then I will give the spoiler warning because there will be spoils.
Didn't you just do it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I will do it.
Okay. You'll do a better one.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Casey. I am
blog. Casey blogs.
thedrunklibrarian.wordpress.com, where I rant about children's and young adult literature primarily, and how I hate John Green. I will spare you that. But yeah, I've shown up here once before to do 13 Days of Misfortune. I'm excited to be back, and I've read the first 4 or 5 of these. I read them as a kid. I didn't stop because I didn't like them. It's just like I was waiting for them to come out, and then I forgot. But yeah, is that all I need?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
And if you didn't know, I'm Michaela. Hi. I run the blog, The Piedpipercalls, on WordPress, where I talk about books and comics and K-pop, mostly. And I do all kinds of books. An eclectic collection. Yeah, it's basically just, I like this thing, talks about it.
That's like mine, but it's I hate this thing.
Talks about it, yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the first book in the Pendragon series, which is titled The Merchant of Death. I will read the description that Goodreads has on it. Bobby Pendragon is a seemingly normal 14-year-old boy. He has a family, a home, and even Marley, his beloved dog. But there is something very special about Bobby. He's going to save the world. And not just Earth as we know it. Bobby is slowly starting to realize that life in the cosmos isn't quite what he thought it was, and before he can object, he is swept off to an alternate dimension known as Pendragon, a territory inhabited by strange beings, ruled by a magical tyrant, and plagued by dangerous revolution. If Bobby wants to see his family again, he's going to have to accept his role as savior and accept it wholeheartedly, because as he is about to discover, Pendragon is only the beginning. Bobby's Jesus.
Spoiler warning.
Kind of.
Actually, I haven't read them all. Bobby might not be Jesus. I'm guessing.
Not entirely.
Bobby is pseudo-Jesus.
Fun fact for those of you who were 90s kids, if you watched Are You Afraid of the Dark as a kid? Casey, did you watch that show?
A bit, on and off.
Okay.
It scared me as a child.
It's sort of like Goosebumps, but actually scary. Like the Goosebumps TV show wasn't actually scary at all. It was like really cheesy and gross. And it takes place, well, it doesn't take place. It was filmed in Canada, so the actors are very Canadian. But one of the writers for that show is the author of this book, and he also wrote for a lot of shows that I really loved growing up, like Flight 29 Down and Ghostwriter. And he pitched this as a book series in its entirety and got it signed when he pitched it. So I always commend this series for the fact that it is one of the most complete and put together children's series that I have. I know one of the things that we talked about when we were talking about a series of unfortunate events was that the first couple of books were like the same book over and over again before it sort of got a plot that arched through the whole thing. This always has a forward moving plot that has to do and ties all of the books together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about the books and the characters. Casey, do you have a recommendation? Because I've been ranting about it, but like without spoilers, do you have anything nice or not nice to say about it? Would you recommend that people read it?
Yeah, I definitely think it's to an extent it starts off, like I said, I haven't finished the series, and Michaela gives me lots of reason to believe that it gets different. It starts off as a bit of a generic magical boy narrative, but hey, so did Harry Potter.
Yeah.
If you like fantasy, if you like reluctant heroes, it's a really clever world. I'd give it a shot.
Okay. If you're into that, then definitely look into it. Although it might be difficult because, like I was telling Casey, it's kind of currently out of print. They don't have it at Barnes & Noble anymore.
Library.
But libraries. Also, you can get the second printing with the better covers, the newer covers, on Amazon for pretty cheap. I think you get the whole series for like under $30. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is not the most popular boy in school. This is the boy who gets his head shoved in a toilet. Like that. Like, he just, no, this is not the one the head cheerleader makes out with. I'm sorry. It just isn't.
The head cheerleader doesn't make out with him. It's the team captain of the soccer team. She's also a sporty girl.
I thought she played close enough. We'll get there. I like Courtney. Anyway.
Spoilers, kind of. That happens in the first chapter of the book, so you don't have to feel bad. Like we're not really spoiling anything.
If anyone's gonna get spoiled, it's gonna be me, because I've only read like the first 4, and I only remember this one sort of.
Because she read it most recently.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I remember it because I read like 80% of it today.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. Spoiler section. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can go away. If you want to know or keep track of when we are going to be talking about these, I'm going to try and tweet about it using our Bibliomancy Twitter at Bibliomancy101. All of the Bibliomancy stuff is down in the links below, as well as my stuff and Casey's stuff if you want to find us individually and learn more about us and read the stuff that we write on the interwebs.
Which you should. We're a lot more coherent in blog form.
For sure. Okay. Favorite part. Do you have a favorite part? Do you remember a favorite part?
Yeah, first off, I have to say, the first 50 pages or so, I was really, really nervous.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, we're going to be talking about all 10 of these, because it's a wee bit dated, but I have to say, around the time Osa dies, sorry, spoilers, but you were warned.
Yep.
So why are you still here? I think it took a turn that made it better, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I would say, yeah, the latter chunk of the book. It's not really a favorite part, but I liked it a lot, especially compared to the beginning. The thing I guess I would call my favorite, because it is what I remembered years later before picking up this book. I only remembered, I believe, Munchly, which was great because I shipped it, and the Quigs in the Coliseum. I remember that because that was awesome. And it's still awesome years later. That definitely holds up. So yeah, Quigs is my favorite part.
Quigs. I was going to say, and you mentioned it, Osa's death being my favorite part, not because it made me happy, because it definitely did not do that, but both rereading it and reading it as a child, it was kind of this huge moment in this book of like, you're expecting the good guys to win. You have this warrior woman that Bobby like is in awe of, and she dies. And you're just kind of like, oh shit, what? There's this moment of like,
fault.
Oh god. And then there's lore there, and you're confused about like, she sort of has to like keep fighting despite the fact that like literally her mom just died, and it was just this huge of like, I don't know, like weight just dropped on this book. And I believe because the first time I read this, the first part of it was read out loud to me in my class, because that's how long ago I read this, when teachers still read books out loud to the students in the class. I got the book from the library for myself and read it because we had stopped right about there, and I was like, no, not cool. And like had to finish it, and then read like the next two books while they were still working on the first one, reading it out loud in class. So
that's so cute.
Yeah.
I don't remember when I read this. 2002. Oh, I don't know what grade I was in. But I'd say I think I got into it around like 3rd or 4th grade-ish.
Yeah, that's about the same with me.
Which I think this, at least the first book, is perfect for. I think older and younger can enjoy it, but the writing style definitely reminds me of that age.
Yes.
Lots of exclamation points and slang. The slang is hilarious. Sorry. Anyway, I did find, I think it eased up later in the book, but like there's one point where it was like, oh man, Press is gonna die. I was like, jeez.
Jeez. Oh, goodness. I would like to talk about the description of Lore's outfit when she comes to Second Earth.
Oh, yeah.
She was dressed.
I got that.
She was dressed in denim overalls and a tight pink sleeveless shirt that showed off her powerful shoulders and arms. She even had on Doc Marten black boots. And I'm like, way to talk about every early 2000s teenager's outfit. Like, it's so old now. Like, that would. She's wearing overalls? Gross.
Oh, my. Overalls are coming back.
I know, because 90s are coming back, and they were a huge thing in the 90s and kind of lasted a little bit into early 2000s. But, like, there are a lot of little things like that that really date this book that you don't realize because you were reading it at the time that all of these references had a point. They, like, were like, oh, look how this is happening right now. And now it's just kind of like, oh, God, that's a terrible outfit. And then that's, like, followed by the line, like any other teenager at their elementary school, or their high school rather, she just looks like another teenager. And I'm like, no teenager today would be caught dead wearing that outfit.
Nope. I mean, though, I feel like it would not be too difficult. I know they tried it with Animorphs and it did not take off because no one but me loves that series, where they went through and changed basically everything that dated it. So I think like instead of a PlayStation or a Sega, they changed it to game system. I feel like it would be relatively
generic as opposed to updating
timeless. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they wanted to make it timeless, which I don't know. I do feel like a lot of the enjoyment for me reading it again was just being charmed by the early 2000s-ness. But I don't think it would be... It's not like you're not reading it and going, oh, God, what is wrong with them? This is so hard to relate to because it's so dated. But...
Right. I feel like given a little bit more time, it would... Like we said, the 90s is coming back. So, like, in a couple of years, it will be relevant again. It'll be completely relevant again. It'll be fine. Okay. Do you have any rants that you want to rant about, or least favorite parts?
Like I said, it took me a while to get into, just at first, and I will say for the first book, while I did really enjoy it, at this point the characters seem a little generic. Yep. In that you have your feisty, badass warrior girl, and you have your magical boy who's seemingly normal. He's a seemingly normal sports star, genius, most popular kid in school, because that exists.
Basically Mary Sue?
A little bit. But then they deconstruct that later, if that's the word I'm looking for. They undo it later, which is good. That's why I thought the book started to turn up. But and you know, Mark is the geek, and Courtney is the other cool girl.
Yeah.
Which, and don't get me wrong, I liked them, but it was like, oh, it felt a little like my first
on TV.
Yeah, my first tropes kind of thing. Yeah.
My first tropes. Oh goodness, I love it. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that, like, partially in this book and definitely throughout the series, that changes for sure. They deconstruct those stereotypes.
I started figuring it wasn't intentional.
Right.
Yeah, not Bobby's him, but he's totally a weenie. That's the only thing. It's not really a rant. It's just a recommendation of give it time.
Yes.
Because at first you might go, oh God, but it gets better.
Yes. I'll agree that kind of bugged me. I will say, from a design perspective, I didn't have any problem with this when I was reading as a child, but as an adult, the fact that there's different typefaces for the journals and for Mark and Courtney's section bugged me, because it's kind of, it takes me out of the book because I noticed it, and it like, I don't see why it was necessary, because
stupid. I guess
Bobby's journals are written in the typeface that we expect from books. It's very standard, but the sections of, like, what's happening in the real world with Mark and Courtney have this, like, weird, I don't know, kind of bolded, blockier text, I guess. I don't know, it bugged me, and I don't know, like, from a design perspective, that kind of took me out of the story and was kind of weird, and that remains throughout the rest of the series, so I will either forget about it or yeah I don't know. What else did I have?
I guess maybe kids are too stupid to notice we're not in the journal anymore, but I thought the voices were distinct enough for it not to be a problem.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it was supposed to be like the journals. So here's the thing: is, like, the journals are handwritten, right? Bobby's handwriting them on basically parchment. So I could see them doing that in, like, a handwriting type font, but not for 10-year-olds, because 10-year-olds won't be able to read that necessarily.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they would change the, like, normal one, except for this looks something very similar to how the internet, the modern day stuff looks sort of similar to the text that you would find on the internet in that time period. So maybe that's supposed to be of, like, this is this old typey font,
fair.
and this is this more modern font. But it's the same fonts throughout the book, so it's not like the journals get more nuanced if he goes to Third Earth, which is the future. Like,
okay.
I don't know. It was just a little weird, and it bugged me. It's not a huge thing, and most people might not even care or notice. But it bugged me as somebody who has looked into and enjoyed how people make decisions about the graphic design in books, and this is definitely a graphic choice that's weird.
Would it have pissed you off less if it had been opposite, for lack of a better term?
So, like, the more standard was in the modern day? No, yeah. I think either bothers me, because the thing that bothers me is not so much it's the juxtaposition of them. They're, like, very jarringly different.
I'm trying to find a page that has both on one to show. It's kind of weird.
It's difficult to find, because the Denderon ones usually end on a page that you have to flip the page.
Yeah. Oh, well. No, I can see why that's annoying.
Yeah.
I can feel
here
you.
I sort of got one.
Oh.
One ends and one starts. And there. Focus?
It's so close.
Oh, goodness.
I think it's focused enough.
Nah.
Maybe.
I don't know. If you can see that, that's the thing.
It's basically going from serif to sans, and that's kind of weird.
I guess the other thing that I would note is that Bobby is a really good writer. Like, for somebody who's just writing journals home to his friends, he knows how to set up, like, cliffhangers. And
yeah, he knows how to. It's like he was sitting here and then, that's the end of chapter 4.
Like, I realize that they're not broken up like this, most likely, but even still, like, within the writing, it's structured so that you follow a sort of format when you're reading it of, like, will he or won't he survive? I mean, he's writing this thing, so obviously he survived, but you kind of forget that as you're reading it in the way that he writes it. I don't know. Talent.
Yeah.
Very talented
Actually,
writer.
that actually is something that I did notice. I don't think I would have picked up on it as a kid, but I'm not a big fan of journal stories in particular like this. I guess epistolary narratives is a better term for it. But because you're like, obviously he survives. I guess that might be why for a big chunk of the book, probably until Bobby returns to Second Earth to pick up supplies, I cared a lot more about Mark and Courtney than I did about Bobby.
I would say that I remember as a child reading this, I always cared more about Mark and Courtney, to the point that sometimes if I wasn't enjoying what Bobby was doing, I would skip his sections, read all the Mark and Courtney sections, then go back and read all the Bobby sections. Because they are so personable. Like, and I wanted to kiss Mark on the face as a child because he was me and I was him. And But yes, Mark and Courtney.
I love. It took about 2 seconds, and I will apologize if I'm wrong. In about 2 seconds, I was like Bobby's like, Lore hates me. I'm like, so they're gonna get together.
Oh no.
Like, well, there you go. I mean, I might be totally wrong, in which case I will apologize.
It sets up a love triangle. And having spoken with Taylor and Gretchen about how we all dislike love triangles because they're dumb, it sets up a love triangle.
Woo!
Of like Bobby, Courtney, Bobby, Lore. You
don't get love triangles with guys in the center a lot, I feel like, in young adult, though. Usually
I agree.
It's 2 guys over a girl, because generic YA fantasy, so that's kind of cool.
However, like we said,
Who's fighting over this guy? Sorry, no, that's shallow. Keep going.
I believe this is marketed at boys, so it sort of makes sense that there are these 2 hot girls fighting over this guy who's also a jock, ?
And they're so opposite.
They're not that different. Like, Lore's a little...
Like, physically, they're opposite. Courtney's, like, tiny and blonde, blue-eyed. Lore's giant
and dark.
Intimidating black lady, yeah.
Which also... There's,
but I like her by the end, more or less.
Lore?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lore sort of grows on you across the series. Lore more or less is in every single book, I think.
Okay.
It's sort of stated in this that Lore and Bobby are kind of together the whole time. They both are here on the first planet, and they go to every single one consecutively. Along, whereas some of the other travelers like Alder are not there constantly. They're there sort of when their specific skills are needed.
Okay.
And I feel like that's because Bobby is supposed to be the brain and Laura is supposed to be the brawn of their operation, because he cannot fight at all, despite being a basketball star and very agile.
I was gonna say,
he cannot fight. And I don't know why
Katie.
Uncle Press, who's supposed to be like training him to be the next savior of the planet, would not have brought him to like karate or something.
He said he took karate as a kid, but that's it.
Clearly he remembered that. Not at all.
Yeah, no, I think I really disliked Laura in the beginning because she was your generic, like, it seemed like angry because for some reason a lot of authors think strong female characters have to be violent and badass instead of having a personality. But like we've said a billion times, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. I'm tired. But Osa's death is a turning point when we start to see she like has a personality. Yeah, feelings besides disdain.
Yeah.
And badassery, and I like that there's a couple times she admits she's wrong.
Yep.
Which I thought was good. I thought, you know, if he was trying to write a strong, confident woman, she wouldn't admit she's wrong because that would take away from her badassery or whatever. And God, I hate that character. But not this one, that generic character.
That trope character. Yeah. I feel like when we go to Laura's home territory, you sort of learn why she is the way she is, and and along with that, she grows across the series, getting to know Bobby more. And like part of it was that she didn't know him, and the other part was that he can't fight worth shit, and she values people who fight. He can't fight. He's not worth shit. He's just a liability at this point. Like, why is he here?
To be fair, he asks that question a lot.
Yeah.
And you're kind of inclined to agree with him.
Yeah.
But he's smart. I appreciated that. Like, as much as I love Harry Potter, another very popular magical boy narrative, which I thought shared some similarities with this. This isn't a ripoff, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially if it was marketed to ride the Harry Potter train. But as much as I love Potter, you get the idea that he just sort of stumbles into things and just kind of lets his friends, by which I mean Hermione and Dumbledore, carry him through. And Bobby's a bit more self-sufficient than that. And his Dumbledore is Press, and Press seems like less of a douchebag, but also a lot more helpful.
Yes, definitely helpful. A lot more gifted in what he does. I should also say we should clarify what we mean by magical boy, because it's not like Bobby weaves spells and stuff. He's just able to travel through space-time, basically. That's his one power, is that at specific junctures in space-time is able to travel through space-time to other specific junctures in space-time.
Yeah,
it's not like he controls that in any way at all either. They're already predetermined. He just has the ability to harness them. So it's kind of science fiction in a way. Closer. Yeah. It's still fantasy because it's magic and it's not explained through science in any case, but it's closer to science fiction in that it's not controllable. It's all predetermined and set up and structured. Kind of.
Yeah.
Also, different universes is very science fiction-y.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, and in a broader meaning, just magical boy or magical girl, narratives are just, you have your average Joe or Jane who is the chosen one because it's marketed toward children who want to be the chosen one. It's not a bad thing, but yeah, no, it's one of those ordinary, super popular guy gets plucked out of his world into a place where they're a lot more powerful and important. This does turn it on its head. Yes, it does do that.
I was going to say not just super popular boy who's best friends with the biggest, wimpiest nerd in the school.
Yeah, I was like, maybe my high school wasn't like a bad teen movie or anything with like the cheerleaders and the jocks and stuff, but there was no way. First off, again, no way this kid's being popular, but also no way the most popular kid's gonna hang out with the one who gets bullied.
Yeah.
Poor Mark.
Or the kid who's hanging out with the most popular wouldn't be bullied just because he's hanging out with the most popular. But there's sort of, it's either Bobby is sort of not the most popular and is just really talented at basketball, but is a huge nerd himself, and they just sort of tolerate him. But it's sort of, you get the idea that everybody loves him because he's the basketball star.
I don't know. I have trouble. It's very difficult to create a school and students that I like. This was, so, I mean, but my high school, the most popular people were the rich ones, so.
Oh, yeah, no, same.
It's hard to relate to. It's like, not the most attractive or smartest, it was the ones with the most money. But
they live in Connecticut, so they're all rich.
That's fair. I actually do not know this takes place in Connecticut.
I'm pretty sure it takes place in Connecticut.
Oh,
they're in driving distance to New York.
I was going to say, one thing I really did like is generally, like I said, with your magical, well, no, I didn't say it, but with your magical boy narratives, your hero has to leave behind the old world. And, like, this is done in Harry Potter because his life sucks in the old world, so you're happy that he gets to leave the dirt. It kind of seems callous when the hero's just like, see ya, I don't care about you anymore. Yeah. Goodbye. And I wish I could think of, there's a book in particular that I'm thinking of and it's not coming to mind. But anyway, I like, yeah, okay, I'll spoil it. His family basically disappears.
Maybe that's what it is.
So,
yes.
What I like is that he doesn't just say, screw you, family. Like, he would go back home if he could, and it causes angst, and hopefully it'll cause more angst later, because it was right at the end, so there wasn't a lot of time for angst. But, yeah, I like that. I always thought a lot of times, oh, hell, Twilight, Bella Swan saying, see ya, Dad, I'll never see you again, because I'm going to hang out with hot vampires. And it's like, you always kind of feel like, hey, you're being an asshole. But you don't get that here, which I like. Yeah. Though I do hope they explain how the parents responded to a guy who was obviously not related to them, call and taking them out places and not finding that creepy. Basically, Uncle Press is not Bobby's uncle. You don't find that out till the very end of the first book. But he's sort of been, like, mentoring him, and I don't know if there were false memories involved or what. Everyone just sort of accepted the weird potential sexual predator who shows up and kidnaps their son. I don't know. But
yeah. Yeah. Apparently, I didn't realize this. They don't say the name of the town where they live in this one. It's just described as a suburb of New York City. I can tell you from later books it's in Connecticut, and that one of his other series takes place in the same town with different characters.
Same universe?
I don't know. They mention Mark Diamond, which makes us think yes, but they're very different circumstances that have nothing to do with the Travelers. And have everything to do with death.
Yay, death!
I don't know if I have.
Maybe we'll do a book on that one, too.
It's weird, though, because the first two books in that trilogy are the same book from different perspectives. Because one of, basically, I don't know, I don't want to spoil it. I won't spoil it in case we do read it.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it later, because I would like to see this guy try to do dark. I didn't get far enough for the first series to really get dark, and I'm really glad you were moved by Osa's death. I sort of wasn't, because I didn't really know her, and I was not at a point where I liked Bobby or Laura yet, so I was kind of like, well, I mean, she was gonna croak, obviously, but I like that he's willing to go there, and I would like to see him have a chance to do that. I mean, it's always, I worry that it'll always be sort of diluted by the fact that it has to come from Bobby
or
in
Mark.
His voice, in this journal writing style. Or Mark, that's true.
I was just realizing why I think that typeface is the early 2000s internet typeface. That's Mark's perspective. It's Mark's perspective, and Mark's the computer nerd. That's why, because it's his voice, and his voice would come from the computer nerd font / possibly typed on that computer. But in any case, I think that's why they chose that typeface. It bugged me, and I needed to figure it out. So I think that's why, it's because it's Mark's perspective. But also,
does it piss you out less now, or piss you off less now?
It doesn't really piss me off. It just takes me out of the story, and I don't think that will change the fact that it takes me out of the story, because I notice it and go, different typeface. What happens definitely later in the book is it gets darker, but it has to do with the fact that, and I think this book sort of does it, but it's not as much as some of the later books do, is that this is not a right versus wrong narrative. This is... Oh,
yay, I love those. Sorry, I love... Anyway.
You love not right versus wrongs? Or you...
say, yeah, all my favorite children's series in particular. It seems like it's right versus wrong, and then it's not.
So, like, in this one, we have the
Great Dane.
The poor mining community. We'll just talk about the community that this takes place in. The poor mining community and the richer aristocratic knight community that the poor mining community has to constantly give fuel to. You have the idea that they're supposed to be fighting with the poor mining community, and then when the poor mining community makes this bomb that would allow them to fight back, Uncle Press says, no, they can't do that. We're not here to help them have a revolution. We're here to keep the peace. If they have their revolution, then Saint Dane wins. So you think this whole book that you're fighting with these underdog people who are totally treated like crap. Their people are killed if they don't have enough of this.
MacHale goes above and beyond to make them, like, the orphans in Oliver Twist have joyous lives in comparison.
And you, as the reader, especially an American audience, is compelled to be like, yeah, get this revolution. They have this weapon they can fight back. And to have the one character that you sort of look up to this whole novel say, we're not for that. We're actually going to have to actively stop that from happening is insane.
No, and I like it doesn't then go, twist! The people we thought were good guys are bad guys. Like, the people who want to use the bomb, they're not evil all of a sudden.
No.
Like, you still like them and you still understand. Really, the only one that is pure evil is Saint Dane, who has a kind of stupid name, but that's okay. And I have the feeling, just by the way everything's been set up so far, he's going to get a lot more interesting. Right now, he's kind of your generic bad guy, evil laugh. But
he's a magical boy. He can change his appearance real well.
Woo, spooky. Spooky.
I think the idea
I mean, he's okay. It's just, at the moment, he's like, he just wants to watch the world burn,
Yes. And I don't know if he gets more interesting. Like, you really don't learn his motives or anything. Maybe in the last book you do, but he gets more desperate as the series goes on. And
he gets a little Olaf.
Yes. And you find out that he's had hands in a lot of pots that you didn't realize he had his hands in. The entire series that alone. So there's sort of this idea of like, oh shit, St. Dane's fucking things up. What are you doing?
That was your reaction at like 12. Oh shit! He's fucking things up. Apparently that was your voice before you hit puberty.
Basically same. Basically, yeah. But yeah, no, he gets crazy. Like, he's always, you can tell that he's evil. Like, he's very clearly evil, and you know that Bobby hates him, but he gets more and more homicidal and more desperate and starts breaking the rules more. Because he followed most of the rules in this book. There are certain rules set up in this universe that you need to follow that Bobby breaks in this book.
And so does Lore. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. You knew it was wrong. I didn't. Didn't your mom tell you that?
Obviously.
Whatever. Anyway.
Dumb.
You're not supposed to bring stuff from home. He brings stuff from home, and that's how the bomb can go off. But it was badass. Yes. I loved that. That was like my favorite part. So, no, I already listed my favorite part. It's up there.
It's up there.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are there any other major characters that we want to talk about?
Honestly, not really. I mean, obviously, Bobby is the emotional center, though it took a while, for me at least, to get connected to it. Like I said, I ship Courtney and Mark, and I really hope my memory's right that they end up together. But that could be totally wrong, and then I'll cry. Lore starts off being annoying and then gets better. Didn't really care about Osa, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that for me, my favorite characters emotionally and like immediately liking them are the Travelers from Second Earth and the Traveler from First Earth. And I get pissed off because they both basically get written out of the series in the fourth book, but we're not there yet.
So we haven't even met your favorite characters, or do you mean Travelers from Second Earth as in Bobby and Press?
No, as in the guy from Chloral, who is the Traveler from Chloral. And First Earth being a guy that we haven't met yet either. The Traveler from First Earth. First Earth is not Bobby and Press. They're Second Earth. And Patrick from Third Earth is also my favorite, but he's very rarely in the series unless it takes place there. And oh my god, I love Patrick. He's a librarian and he's so sad. He's so
librarian. Anyway, that's why I love Series of Unfortunate Events. It was an ode to libraries. Oh, I will admit, I liked Alder a lot. He's barely in the book, which, to be fair, there's not a lot he can do. He's kind of a doofus. But he's very, very sweet. There's a couple times that Bobby compares him to a puppy. And it's like, yeah, if a human could become a puppy, it would be Alder. And if you resonate with that kind of character, he's really easy to love.
Right. And he does come back, and he gets older and smarter, because he comes back later in the series where he, like, is sort of he's left on Dendron, where he has to deal with the sort of fallout from the end of this book, where he learns a lot and grows a lot, and that helps his character. But it all happens off stage, like, you don't see most of it. Whereas you have to watch Bobby's growth in the books. You watch Mark and Courtney's growth in the book and Lore's growth in the book. Not all of the other characters you get to see very often, really, and that's sad. Oh,
another thing I liked. I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place.
Go for it, girl.
Good luck anyone who's trying to follow this. One thing I liked, they did this in Animorphs too, but when people like Mark and Courtney are brought together for a reason, like, it's not like all of a sudden now they're best friends and they hang out all the time. There's a period of months, maybe. We don't really know. Time is wibbly wobbly. I don't even like Doctor Who, but anyway. But they grow apart because they don't have anything in common and they run in completely different circles.
Yep.
So I guess I liked that. I liked that it wasn't like we shared an experience ever and ever and ever and ever. I thought that was a little more realistic in the story about magical traveling universes. I appreciate the realism.
Yes. That the jock girl and nerd guy did not become best friends just because they both like Bobby.
Yeah.
No, they definitely did not do that. Yes, I think that's everything.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I don't have anything more to say.
I thought this was very, very fun. I'm not sure I'll be, like, reading it again every year, but, man, if I have kids, I'll definitely be like, hey,
read this thing.
Give this a shot, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to do these on Sundays, Casey? Is that a good day for you, or?
Yeah, that works. Do you have a better day?
No.
Like for you? Okay.
No. I mean, any day is fine for me, but if Sundays are good for you, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, Sundays are ideal.
Okay. Next Sunday, then, we will be talking about The Lost City of Far, which is the second book. It takes place on Chloral.
Mine's all the way over there.
It's fine. I got it. I can hold it up. You guys can see it. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you like this cover better, or is it still real gross?
He looks so girly, which is fine. Some people do look girly, but the
He's
turtleneck is really not working for me.
He's in a scuba outfit.
Oh, I didn't get that. Okay.
No, it does look like a lavender turtleneck from here. Yeah, you're right.
Which,
They're very weird drawings, and Bobby's appearance changes like real drastically over the course of the covers.
Yeah, no kidding. He gets a jawline at some point, like halfway through the series.
And the series does span several years to the point where they're like adults when it ends, I think. They're like 18 or 19.
So it almost grows with the audience, but not quite?
Yes.
Aspen did that, too.
But it also has a typical thing of like, this is a book about 14-year-olds, which 10-year-olds are supposed to be reading, because 14-year-olds don't read about being 14, they read about teenagers.
No, they read about 17, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it grows, but it doesn't grow in the same way.
Okay.
But yeah,
cool.
it does do that. It goes over several years. So he does go through puberty, which is kind of hilarious.
Oh no, is there a dragon growling in his chest? Because that was just like, Rowling, just call it boner, come on.
I don't know.
Yes.
I highly doubt there was a scene like that because I don't remember anything like that, but it might exist. I don't know.
Oh, that'll be fun. I love when oh man, whenever anyone tries to write puberty, it's hilarious.
Yep.
Oh, well, that'll be fun.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Do you have any places that people can find you, Casey, on the internet?
Only one, because I don't have a Twitter or anything, but thedrunklibrarian.wordpress.com. It's very misleading title, because I'm rarely drunk and not yet a librarian, but whatever, it sounds good. And stiff.
Yeah.
Check me out.
And you can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet at piedpipercalls or following the piedpipercalls.wordpress.com, which is my blog. And if you want to follow the book club specifically, like I said, all of those links will be down below. It's either Bibliomancy 101 or Bibliomancy 4 beginners on most social media. And also our main book club, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, we'll be meeting to discuss Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, which is a collection of short stories that are graphic novel short stories. Does that make sense? Graphic short fiction?
Yeah.
And that,
that works.
Yeah. If you're interested in that, it's in the horror genre. If you're interested in that, we'll be talking about that. And those meetings are every 2 weeks on Tuesday. These meetings will be every week on Sunday to talk about Pendragon.
Yay!
Okay, that's everything.
Bye!
Click.